Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to today's video. So today's video, we're going to be talking about some tips for attending Disney on Ice. So Disney on Ice is one of my favorite things to do with my family. We go, it's usually in our town twice a year, which I love because not every town gets it twice a year. But I have been taking my son since he was 9 months old. When he was 9 months old, I took him at the last minute. I bought a ticket on, I think, StubHub, and I paid way too much for, ringside seats, and he loved it, and we have been going to every show since. Now, obviously, there was a break when COVID happened. There was a show, I think it was canceled the week before, and then it didn't happen for another year. So I think there was like 18 months where we didn't get to go, but as soon as it was back, we were back, and I absolutely love it. There are some shows that I've actually seen twice, and there's one show that I've actually seen 3 times because it was so good. I actually went to see it in, we live in Broward County, or like the Fort Lauderdale area, and when it was playing in Miami the following week, I went to see it again in Miami. That was that good. So, and then it came back again. So we have seen that show particularly 3 times. But it's just, there's a lot of things, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do with my family. My son is 7. He will be, and so far he still likes it. So we do ice skate. So I think there's also appreciation for the skaters. I will be very sad if he tells me he doesn't want to go anymore, but right now he still wants to go. So again, it's one of my favorite things to do. So I have some tips because I have been doing these videos for Disney on Ice, kind of just showing them, and I noticed that these are one of my more popular videos. So I have some tips on if you're going to be attending Disney on Ice, some things to do before, some things to do for the show, and just kind of, going through them. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so for my first tip is to sign up on DisneyOnIce.com. Seems kind of basic, but yes, they do have a newsletter, and the newsletter will also give you access to the pre-sales. So you can look online and see when your show is coming. For example, the shows always in my town always come in March and September. Well, this year, there's one actually not in Broward County, in the Fort Lauderdale area. There's only going to be in Miami, and it's not until April. So it's a completely different schedule this year. But that's something different that I've been attending since, I want to say, 2016. So that is something different from the last 7 years. So, always check. I always kind of check and see what the next show is, when it's going to be playing. And that way you can kind of get the best access for seats, also the pre-sale. So that's the next thing. My next tip is to try and get into the pre-sale. So if you give your information, you will get the email of when the pre-sale goes on sale. And with that, the pre-sale usually, if the tickets go on sale on a certain day, the pre-sale usually starts a full week before. Now, I looked back on my prior tickets, and it looked like all the pre-sales, I bought all my tickets on a Thursday, and they tend to go on sale. I'm an East Coast or Eastern time zone, always at 10 a.m. So sometimes the emails don't come after, but I know the pre-sale is coming. I will search for a code, and usually I will find a code that works. A lot of times I will get the pre-sale email after I've already bought my tickets because I am that person. But, just if you don't really care about getting the best seats or those ringside seats, you'll be fine just getting them right when the pre-sale email comes out. I'll talk about the ringside seats later. But if you do want to get the absolute best seats and you want to splurge on those best seats, then you do need to be online as soon as the pre-sale opens. So my other tip is to search for a code. A lot of times the codes, will be interchangeable. So if there was a code for a show 2 weeks earlier in a different town for a pre-sale, usually that code will work, even though it's not necessarily for the same city that it's showing that you're going to be attending to. So I have found that little trick, but so it's really important to get into the pre-sale, that again, you can get the best seats. Even if you don't want the best seats like the ringside, maybe you want the best seats that are in like the 3rd tier. Let's say, I think the most expensive seats are usually like $95. So let's say you want to go for the $65 range, and you want to get as close as you can in the 65. So that's going to give you better access as well. So my second tip is to get into the pre-sale and as early as possible. Okay, so we talked about getting your information and signing up for the newsletters on DisneyOnIce.com and then buying your tickets early. So then where are the best seats? So again, I personally think that splurging for the ringside is worth it. I love the ringside. You get that interaction. It's just amazing. However, they are expensive. So I understand that not everybody wants to do that, and most people don't want to splurge for that. So what I would say is, personally, my favorite seats in the house are dead on the stage. So you kind of think it's usually like a rectangle. And then while they do play to the side, so they will interact with the audiences on the side, the best interaction, because it's kind of like a stage. So the front is going to be where they're performing. So a lot of the performance will be facing towards the front. So I would personally, if I were getting in something around the arena, I would try and get in the front. I would rather be a little further back, but in front than, closer on the side. That's just me. Everybody's different. I have sat on the side and had a great time, but I personally just kind of someone that likes watching, stage shows. I like watching it from the front. So personally, that is my opinion where it would be the front. However, there really isn't a bad seat in the house. They really do interact. You will see the characters coming around. But personally, like I said, the best seats for me are obviously the ringside. I think the splurge is worth it. I love sitting ringside, and we've had some amazing interactions with the ringside seats. But also, again, towards the front of the stage is my favorite spot. Okay, next up is the pre-show meet and greet worth it? And again, this is something that's, subjective, and it's pricey. So it is not a cheap experience. And if you go with, we have one child, so that makes it a lot easier. If you had 3 kids, it would be a very expensive afternoon. But we have one child, and so that makes it a lot easier. But you have to buy tickets for everybody in your party. So we have to buy 3 tickets for myself and my husband and my son. So it's not like we just buy for the son and we just kind of go with him. No, it's for everybody. So keep that in mind. Now, I usually cover it for my channel, so I kind of justify the cost that way. But for us, I think it's a fun experience. My son is probably getting to the point where he's kind of outgrowing it. He really doesn't care to meet the characters anymore. But we did the one with Anna and Elsa. He got to color. They did a little games. It was really nice. We had a really nice time. There was one that they did before COVID where we met Moana, and they did this experience. And then we also met Mickey. And with that one, we actually got a professional photo, and they did a professional photo with Mickey. But they didn't do that this time. So I don't know. We're going to be doing it again in April. So I will be covering that on my channel. So I think the pre-show meet and greet is a lot of fun. And it does, especially if you want to meet, I think they're doing for the Frozen Encanto show, they're doing Mirabel, the character from Encanto now. So I think that's a really good experience where you can meet that character. Or if your son or daughter really likes Anna or Elsa and that's who they're meeting, then I think that's a really good opportunity to meet the characters. But I don't think it's necessary, but it is a nice splurge. Okay, now this one is very important, and I think this kind of goes to any event that you attend, but especially Disney on Ice. And that is, know the policies and procedures of the venue you're attending. So we've been attending at what was the BB&T and is now the FLA Arena. It's not going to be their next show. The next show we're going to be going down to the one in Miami. I know the policies and procedures in the theater in FLA Arena. We've been going there a while. I know what size bag I can take. I know what I can take. I know everything that I can do. However, now we're going to be going to, I guess it's the Watsco. It was where we saw the Jurassic World live, and I can't bring in a purse. They're a lot stricter with their rules. So I have to bring a clear bag, and it has to be 4x6. It has to be really small. So you just know your policies and procedures. Now, most venues will allow you to bring a diaper bag. However, and I got away with that for a very long time. My son was, probably 4.5, and I was still carrying a diaper bag. But when you're walking in with a 6-year-old, you really can't say, yes, this is a diaper bag. So keep that in mind. They will, depending on the venue, some of the security guards will stop you and say, no, your kid is 8. that's not a diaper bag. And they will stop you. So that happened at Monster Jam. We saw a lot of people getting turned away, having to go back to their cars. They were very strict. So just know the rules and the policies and procedures of your venue and follow them, because the last thing you want to do is be going into the show, trying to get there and having to take your bag back to your car because they won't allow you to bring it in. Again, with like the water, I know at the Marlin Park or Lone Depot Park, you could bring in water. However, it had to be sealed. And I saw somebody literally open the water, drink it, close it, and then as we were in line for security, and they said, no, you had to throw it away. And they argued with the security for a good 2 minutes, but she had opened it, and you just had to wait. It had to be sealed, and that was clear on their venue policies and procedures. So again, know the policies and procedures, what you can bring, what you can't, because some venues might let you bring snacks and waters and some venues may not. So just know the policies and procedures. It's going to make your experience and your night or afternoon run a lot smoother. Okay, next up is which show is best for your child, and that's really going to be subjective as well. So the most popular shows, what I will tell you is there's usually 3 shows on a Saturday. Usually it starts on a Thursday night, and there's one on Thursday at 7 p.m. And then on Friday, there'll be one at maybe 3 and 7, or maybe there'll just be 7. Sometimes there's an afternoon one on a Friday as well. But then Saturday, they'll have 3, usually like at 11, 3, and 7. And then Sundays, they'll have 2. And in the past, it's been like 1 and 5. So, or around that time. It can vary by city location. The most popular show, I will tell you, and the tickets that go the fastest are the Saturday show at 3. That one by far always is the fastest. So if that's your desired time, make sure you're buying those tickets early. The less desirable shows are the ones in the evening, like the 7 o'clock shows, especially for the younger kids, because it's about a 2-hour show. You're going to be leaving around 8:45, 9 o'clock. So that could be a late night, especially for a little one. We always went to like the 5 o'clock show on Sundays just because it worked with our schedules, and that always worked really well for us. Now we like the 7 o'clock show on Saturdays because our son is a little bit older and it's kind of like a Saturday night out for us. I mean, we're going to Disney on Ice, but still. So just know what works for your child. The Thursday nights, the first show is usually the one that you can get, the best seats later, because it's the one that probably sells out the last, or not doesn't sell out, but the tickets go the last, and it's probably the least popular, but you can get some good tickets there as well. But just know what works. Like if you have a 2-year-old that his bedtime is at 7, don't get tickets for the 7 o'clock show. So I think that goes without saying. But that 3 o'clock, that mid-afternoon show on Saturdays is definitely the most popular. Okay, my next tip is to know what show you're going to. Disney on Ice has several shows going at the same time. Now we're very lucky because we usually get the premiere. They usually start a new show every fall, and in our town, which is in Sunrise, they usually debut that show in. We're usually the first stop on that tour. So we've gotten to see like the shows, the first stop. We got to see Frozen and Encanto. It was the first stop. I posted that video. It's been very popular because we were one of the first videos. So many people were like, oh, we just went to Disney on Ice and this wasn't the show. My daughter was so, upset that they didn't get to see Mirabelle and Encanto. That's why I was just going to say, do your research, know what show you're going to. It's very clear. It'll be like Find Your Hero, Dream Big, Mickey's Road Trip Adventures. Like there's all these different shows. So they're very different. The Frozen and Encanto is fantastic, but it's a new show and it's, still touring. So that's why I would say is know what show you're going to, because if you have a child that loves Encanto and really wants to see Encanto, and you're like, oh, we're going to go see Disney on Ice and see Encanto, and you're going to see Mickey's Road Trip Adventures, you're not going to see Encanto. You're not going to see any of those characters. So, And again, you might you might be setting your child up for disappointment. So just know what show you're going to, and you can find out what characters, what songs, what which characters are going to be in the show, because a lot of them, some of them have Toy Story, some of them don't. And like I said, some shows are better than others. Some shows are more geared towards little girls and princesses, and then some are more general. So it really just depends. But again, know what show you're going to and know what characters are going to be there so that you can prepare your child to whether or not they're going to see their favorite character or not. Now, with that said, you're definitely going to see Mickey and Friends and Anna and Elsa. Like Elsa's, they're probably going to do Frozen. At least every show they've done Let It Go. So those are probably guaranteed. And that leads me to my next one is what to wear. So first of all, dress for Disney. Dress your favorite character, wear your ears, do whatever. I love dressing my son in, I tried to find what Mickey's wearing, and I would try and coordinate an outfit. And then, the last one, I dressed him up as Kristoff because we were going to the Frozen Encanto. So I dressed him up as Kristoff. One time he went up as Olaf. So I've dressed him up as different characters. He still likes dressing up, so that's good. But, dress him up as their favorite character. Dress him up, but dress for Disney like you would like you're going to a park. Definitely. And if you have ears, wear your ears. But also, it's chilly. It's cold. It's an ice rink. Now, is it freezing cold? No, you're not on the ice, but it can get chilly. And, living in South Florida, it's hot. So you're going from like 90-degree weather to somewhere where you're wearing a jacket. So, but just know that it is chilly. Make sure you wear a jacket. Don't wear shorts. Don't wear a sleeveless t-shirt. Definitely, you're going to want to bring a jacket. You're going to want to make sure your kids are warm too. And that you're just, you're dressed for an ice rink because it can get chilly. And it also, a lot depends also on how close you are to the ice. If you're back pretty far, you're probably going to be fine. But especially if you're ringside, you want to dress warm. Okay, so what should you bring to Disney on Ice? So here's a couple ideas. One, if you've bought those bubble wands or light things, anything like that at a park or anything at a previous show, make sure you save it, bring it to the show. It's great. It's going to save you money. Or if you buy one, you can definitely bring that stuff in. The bubble wands, you may want to be careful because I'm not sure if there's a liquid policy. Maybe you wouldn't be able to bring that in. But the lights, light up toys, anything like that, bring it in. That's probably going to hopefully prevent your child from wanting to buy something else. You may be able to bring snacks. Again, this goes back to bringing in your venue, knowing what you can and cannot bring in. So if you can bring water, what you can bring in, that's going to depend on your venue. And then, again, bring snacks. I always bring some sort of snack. We don't really buy, we'll maybe buy like a snow cone. That's kind of like my son's thing, but we really don't eat too much at the venues. But those are types of things that you can bring, but definitely bring up light up toys, anything like that. And maybe even if you find something like cheap, something, small, buy it and then give it to them, and it's something new, you can give it to them, which might save you $30 because those wands are like $30. So maybe you can even give them a toy or something before, buy it and then give it to them. So that way it's new, but you're not spending $30 there. You bought it, at, Walmart for $5. Okay, next tip is to arrive early. Arrive early, and this is something that I personally have not done very much, but there's a lot to do. So one, if you are going to buy any souvenirs, definitely want to do it before because the lines can get very, very long. But also they have, one of my favorite things is they always have like these like green screens or like a little, picture where you can take. I always love doing that, especially now. We haven't done it lately, but I did them a lot. I did them when my son was 9 months old, and I love that picture. I always bought it with the digital image, and especially now that my son is older, I love having those memories, and those lines can get very, very long. So they usually have one with Mickey, and they have one with like Anna and Elsa or Olaf. So there's a lot of choices, but those lines get really, really long. So you definitely want to get there early. Plus, the show starts on time. The show, every time I've ever gone, it starts right on time. This last time, it did start about 10 minutes later, but they had like a pre-show. And so it did start a little bit tense. So I don't know if that was because it was a new show and they were still kind of getting acclimated, but every other time it starts right on the dot. So if it's a 7 o'clock show, it starts at 7. And not only do you want to, I hate missing the beginning because the beginning, it's a really fun, it kind of gets the energy going. But when you're having people walk in front of you and you're like trying to watch it with your kid, it is so annoying. So don't be, and I would hate being that annoying person walking in front of somebody while the show is going on. So, you know, and a lot of people do it. And so I would just say, you know, arrive early so that you get everything you want to do before the show, but then you also are there when the show starts. And this leads me to go to the restroom before the show, especially for your little ones. Have them go to the restroom before the show. And if they need to use the restroom during intermission, just know that you're going to have to wait. So the line can get long. We were very, one of the benefits of being ringside at FLA was there was a bathroom kind of in the tunnel, and you had like this like private bathroom that only the people on the ringside had access to, which was amazing. But when we go to Watsco, that's not going to be the case. So you kind of have to plan. So, you know, I personally won't leave the show to go to the restroom to avoid the line. Personally, I won't do that, but my husband will. And my husband's like, are we close to the intermission? So he'll go and run and go to the restroom. So that's one thing you can do. But also if you want snacks or you're going to want like the snow cone, my son always wants the snow cone. My husband went and got the snow cone right before intermission so that he avoided that long line. So if you're going to get snacks or drinks or anything during intermission, have someone leave just before intermission to avoid, or at least get in line to avoid those long lines, because those lines can get really long. Now for the bathrooms, those are sometimes you're just gonna have to kind of suck it up and wait. But you know, they do usually move pretty quickly. But just know that you know, if you have a little one that really has to go and it's almost intermission, go before intermission and just miss the ending of the first half, because otherwise there's going to be a line. And then that kind of leads me to the end of the show. Just kind of take your time leaving. There's going to be traffic. There's going to be, it's going to take you a long time to get out. So don't be in a rush to get out. It's going to take a lot, just take your time, take some pictures. I always like taking pictures, in front of the rink at the end after. They're probably, the venue's going to try and get you out, but they're trying to get you out, especially if there's a show, following that one. But, don't leave the show early. The finale is always my favorite part of the show. So don't try and leave early to get out and to avoid the traffic. Like, enjoy the end of the show. It is the best part. And then, just kind of take your time leaving. And I just think it just kind of relax. Just know it's going to take a little bit of time. There's probably going to be traffic, but you'll get out eventually. Okay, so my final thoughts on Disney on Ice is just go. It's such a good experience. And when you have kids, they're only little for so long. And that's why I remember when I first took him, people were like, why are you taking him? He's so young. And he loved it. I mean, he really did love it. He loved the lights. He loved everything. And then, each experience was a little different because he was like 6 months older, and each experience is different. Now that he's older, it hasn't changed as much, but he does have an appreciation for the ice skating, and so do I, because I started ice skating. But it's just a fun experience, and it is one of my favorite things to do as a family. And I am going to be so sad when my son one day, because I know it's going to happen, and it's probably going to happen sooner than later, that he doesn't want to go, and that's going to make me sad. But until then, I do think it is such a great event, and you can get I do think that the tickets on the tickets and the ringside are worth it, and they're worth the splurge. I also know that not everybody can afford it, and you can get some pretty inexpensive seats, and have a beautiful view. And it's going to be a different view. You're probably going to be able to see more than I can see up close, because sometimes there's so much going on, and if you're up close, you only see a few things. So maybe sometimes being a little further back, you're going to be able to see everything and really enjoy the show. So my advice to Disney on Ice is just go, enjoy it with your family, and enjoy your kids while they're little and why they still want to go with you. So with that, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.